Hello, everyone. It's a full room out there already. I think we have a few people rolling in, so we're going to let them do that. But welcome to our webinar today. I want to say hello and just let you know everyone right now is muted, but we do have the Q&A open. So, this webinar is meant to be engaging. If you have questions, if you want to throw them in either the chat or the Q&A, feel free to do that. We will answer those along the way today. And, let's get started. I know as people load in, they'll get caught up on some of these slides, but in the meantime, welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here for the next, let's say, 60 minutes. Let's make great use of our time and start with outlining what we want to achieve today. So I'm going to get into our slides here. Our big objective today is to equip you with a bigger understanding of AI agents and how to configure them and the impact they can make with your business. And to achieve that objective, we're going to talk through a little bit about Crestwood to set the stage. I know we have some clients here who are familiar with us, some who are not, so I want to definitely do that first. And then I want to get into a high-level understanding of processes and how agents strategically can help you, but also how to configure those agents and how to use specifically the payables and the sales agent. And ultimately, we want to challenge you to think beyond these two agents and into the future of your business. So we're going to equip you with that today. I've been joking all day that I'm ready to take everyone to school and send you back with some knowledge. And so that's our big goal today. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up at the end with a Q&A session. So like I said, if you have questions along the way today, let's get into those. We also have on the last slide several resources for you today. And so then also remember, today's session is being recorded. So if you want to receive this recorded session, it's going to be emailed to you right after the session concludes. Now, on the call today, we have two people, myself, Stephanie McColly. I'm thrilled to be your host. I'm the CMO and the Business Integrator at Crestwood Associates. I bring over 2 decades of experience in marketing and finance and operational strategy, specifically helping SMBs build scalable, repeatable business infrastructure. You're going to hear that so many times from me today. My passion really lies in empowering businesses like yours with data-driven solutions and sustainable systems that scale. It's something that I've seen transform operations over various industries over the last 2 years. And so Jason here with us is the real brains behind the operation today. Jason is a certified Microsoft solution architect and Power Platform expert. He brings 20 years of technical expertise to empower clients with technical solutions that make a big impact. So I'm excited for him to showcase today. His skills are specifically in ERP, data insights, process optimization, and custom application development, which just ensures our clients with Crestwood achieve enhanced efficiency and growth. That's our big goal for you. So we're both active on LinkedIn. If you'd like to, please connect with us and we'll stay engaged. We post a lot about the Microsoft ecosystem, what's going on in technology, and just generally about business and how to enhance your business processes and automation. And so through the webinar today, you'll notice we have links on here. You can actually click on the screen to get to those. If you're using Microsoft Teams, I'm not sure if you know that, but that's a feature. And then we'll also throw them into the chat just in case, for whatever reason, maybe that link's not working for you. All right, so before we dig in, I just want to share 3 quick slides about Crestwood because I think it's directly applicable to what we'll be diving into today. Again, we have some clients on the call. I may share some things you don't know about us, but maybe it's a refresher. And then for those of you that don't know Crestwood, hello, and this is an introduction. So Crestwood has about 27 years of experience in delivering end-to-end ERP solutions. This extensive history actually allows us to draw on proven approaches for not only implementation of your system, but also for customization and long-term optimization, which is why we're on this call today. We serve as a very trusted advisor and actually an award-winning top partner with Microsoft. And these partnerships in particular have helped us to enable and provide reliable, up-to-date solutions that integrate well with your existing systems. And so our team consists of a couple specifics. So industry experts focused on manufacturing, distribution, construction, and professional services. And we also extend our knowledge to areas like retail commerce and general business, helping us address sector-specific challenges effectively. Now, we also maintain a certified in-house development team. That team supports internal customizations and any sort of innovation without depending on external resources. So everything we do at Crestwood is in-house. Now, additionally, our personalized customer success team, it's a non-billable resource that gets assigned to our clients, and our in-house support team are structured to offer ongoing guidance for you, training, and issue resolutions tailored specifically to your operations. So what does all of that mean? Well, we stand behind the Crestwood Guarantee, which is focused here on the screen, and it's part of our approach to ensuring client satisfaction. It's true experts, software that works, no hidden fees. We want to be transparent. So what Crestwood actually does best is we deliver comprehensive ERP solutions. So we go beyond the basic of implementation by providing end-to-end guidance for you that aligns technology with your strategic goals. We're going to talk about that today. And we're going to ensure that long-term success for you and that adaptability in a very competitive landscape, especially right now in a market that's a little bit unpredictable. So by partnering with us, you're going to gain a dedicated team focused on maximizing value at every stage, from initial setup all the way through continuous improvement. And so what you're seeing here on the screen is just a couple of features of what we offer. You're going to notice on bottom right there is the AI analytics and automation, which is really where we're going to focus today. So on that note, at the core of what we do is we integrate Dynamics Business Central for robust ERP functionality. We look at the whole Microsoft suite, not just the ERP solution. So layered with Microsoft 365 for collaborative productivity, we look at advanced developer tools for custom innovations. We look towards the Power Platform for low-code automation, and then also Azure for scalable cloud infrastructure. These are all underpinned by enterprise-grade security and compliance. So when we talk about AI today, and we talk about how AI can work in your business, know that we're also looking at that enterprise-grade security and compliance that comes with everything that Microsoft has to offer. And so what you'll be doing with AI isn't training larger models, it's specific to your business. So all of this to say, we're your one-stop partner for all things Microsoft, and the ecosystem allows us to create really tailored solutions that are going to address your immediate needs, but also help you scale for future growth, which ultimately reduces silos and enhances efficiency for you. So that's why we're here today. It's to show you the art of the possible using these solutions. Now, first up, some of you on this call answered the survey for us. Thank you. But ultimately, we polled our clients and we asked them what their priorities were for the next 12 to 18 months, because we wanted to meet them where they were in their business and focus on solutions that would matter to them most. And here's what we were told. At the top of the list here is expand to new markets and increase revenue growth, but it's dependent on the two that are below that. In order to do that, these two items were imperative. They must improve operational efficiency through streamlining workflows and then reduce those manual processes using automation. So really quick emoji check. If you can see your emoji at the top, it says react and there's a little smiley face. If any of these on the screen are relatable to you, would you please give me a thumbs up? Because I feel like these are very specific. Yep, I see the thumbs up. These are very specific to many businesses. And this is actually where today's session with AI agents became a topic. And this is exactly where we're going to be spending our time today, because we can talk about applying AI technology to streamline workflows and automate processes. Those were the biggest needs. That's what we want to attack first. So I want to challenge you today to gain clarity on exactly what you're streamlining and automating for your business. So this is where we want to think strategically. This is also where I'm going to put on my business integration hat and my advisor hat for you. So we're going to start really high level, and then we're going to break it down into smaller components. So to think strategically with technology solutions, no matter how amazing or flashy, it's not going to create your internal process for you. So technology doesn't create your internal process. Your established business process is supported by technology. And the objective of technology is actually to help you gain efficiencies. So you must have a process to streamline. That's the big takeaway here as we get into this. So let's take that challenge and let's look at high level. Then we're going to drop it down. Specifically, we'll get into payables and sales agent. Now, on a quick note, as you're going to notice, some of those other topics here on the list, those are going to be future webinars that we will be doing. And so, matter of fact, if you are interested in analytics, that's coming up on the 30th. Kayla, behind the scenes here, is going to post that link into the chat for us. I think she may have already posted it, but we'll be going over out-of-the-box reporting and and Power BI specifically in that session to help you get more out of analytics and reporting. So register for that. But should you have a preference on any of these others, I saw those thumbs up, please maybe type it into the chat. Let me know what you would like to see next in a webinar, because these are the specific areas we will be covering over the next several months, and your feedback is welcome. And I want this to be an interactive session. All right, so we saw the data. Now let's talk workflows and automation, because that's the hot topic. So when you're designing workflows and automation for your company, you want to think about creating systems of scalability and repeatability. So to do that, you first start with the core process of your company. Now, this is not sponsored, but it's just simply a really great book. But in Traction, the author discusses the specific core process of your company, and it's one that's fundamental, repeatable, specific to your business activities, and that defines how your organization will consistently deliver value to customers and achieve results. So that's the best way I can explain it. These core processes define what your organization consistently delivers to your customers and how it achieves its results. So your processes are the vital arteries of how your business runs the things that must work well for everything to succeed. So while every business is unique, most companies share a common set of about 6 to 8 core processes. If you have moved between companies and you've shifted in your career, you've likely seen these. Now, when these are clearly defined and they're shared by all, which is that process component there, it creates alignment, scalability, and predictability for your organization. So to the right, what you're seeing is the key traits of core processes. And here are some examples just to help you apply this. You have an HR or people process in your company. It's how you hire, how you onboard, how you manage, develop your people, how you fire. You also have marketing processes. It's how you generate and nurture leads. That's a flow that happens. It's a process in your company, and it's a core process that makes an impact on how you achieve results. Sales process, same things. It's how you convert prospects into customers. By the way, it's how you process a sales order, like we'll see today with a sales order agent. In operations, there's a process. It's how you deliver your product or service. In accounting, there's a process. It's how you manage your money, your billing, your collections, your reporting. And by the way, insert payables agent here. Also with customer service, how you support and retain customers. And then of course, with technology and product development process, for whatever your company is creating as a product or offering as a service, it's how you innovate, and it's how you maintain your offerings. And so I offer this book, in this kind of view here, because as you think of processes and how you're using technology, you really want to have the process defined first, and then you want to apply your technology to it. And that's where things really, really take off. So if you're depending on the technology to create the process for you, it's a little bit reverse. All right, so to get into the agents and, to really get them to shine, we want you to know the process side and why it matters. And so when you think about how to identify your processes, you want to look at what activities must happen for a business to deliver its process to its customers, where do handoffs or breakdowns most occur, what steps happen if every client or in every client or order life cycle. These are a lot of pieces that go into a process. Now, one of the things that I like to mention is that in order to build out these processes and support them with technology, what you do for your clients is you and your employees, is you give them clarity. Everyone knows how work gets done. They remove dependency on individuals, the tribal knowledge. No one wants to be held hostage by a bad fit employee who's the only person who knows the process. They provide the structure and automation and ERP systems that will enforce your processes for you. And it also ensures consistency in customer experience and operational execution. If you manage multiple locations, you can appreciate walking into one location and it operates the same as another. And so, as you look at this list here and you think about the processes that you have as a company, those core processes, you can document about 20% of the steps that produce 80% of your outcomes. If you use these actionable steps with your team, you'll start to notice a commonality of those core processes, map them out, know the flows that are happening with them, know any major pain points that are happening with them, and then it allows you as a team to start to build your processes more robustly. From there, technology like ERP or automation tools can enhance your consistency and efficiencies. That's where the AI agents step in. Here's a quick look at how lack of automation and streamlined workflows doesn't just hurt, but it actually amplifies into, I'm going to call it a vicious cycle. This table shows the big hitters and their compounding effects when you have a lack of automation and streamlined workflows. By the way, these big hitters came from our client data. It was what was happening before we began to automate and streamline their processes internally. So what you'll see is with costs, manual work spikes labor expenses, and as volume grows, delays and hidden fees will likely impact you significantly. We saw one client with a surge of up to about 30 to 50% in shipping costs through this. And so manual work also rolls into errors. That's where humans slip and create inconsistencies. One mistake will cascade into disputes or audits, and it will erode the trust of your clients or your team members. And by the way, rework is one of the most expensive costs your company will incur outside of labor. Then you get to the employee burnout side of it, and there's some tedious tasks that really drain morale when they're constantly doing the same steps over and over, day in and day out. When you turn over employees, you've got to spin up the next employee to take that time to get educated on the processes. And so you're doubling the replacement cost because of the turnover. And then you're sort of trapping teams into a low output loop. And so when we look at the case for agents, these are the things that we're looking at. In addition, you get delays. Human interaction on sort of like routine processes creates data flow sometimes that is slower. You'll also notice that in fast markets that you can't keep up with the quantity by producing the quality consistently as well. And so when you think about scalability and the growth demands of endless hires, it really peaks overload and it stalls innovation for your company. This is the case for agents. Then inserts risk. Manual handling invites compliance breaches, and fines and reputational hits will multiply fast. When you think about risk mitigation and how to handle some of those compliance breaches, creating a system of security will allow you to overcome that. Then in addition to that, the last on the list, but mostly the most important here is going to be the customers. Remember, every process you do, every core process you do is an impact of how you produce the results for your client. Inconsistencies will frustrate your clients. Churn and bad reviews will slash loyalty and slash your sales. So how can we pick up economies? How can we get more consistent in our efforts with what we're producing and giving out to the market to our clients? That's the case for agents. So as we look at this, the new workforce is not like the old workforce. We're on the front side of it right now. The fact that you're on this call right now indicates that you're interested in learning how to apply some of the new technology to help your company run more efficiently. Businesses and leaders who see this now and think on it strategically will be at the top of the competition in the industry. And by the way, this is your competitive edge as a professional. Professionals who can streamline core processes, reduce costs for their employer, avoid the dreaded employee turnover impact are leaders who companies keep and grow and reward long-term. That's a way for you to keep and increase the loyalty of your employees. It's a way to expand your company's team members and reduce turnover also. So lucky for you, you don't have to have this figured out. Microsoft, the leader in AI technology, has actually figured this out for you, and they train partners like Crestwood to be experts in how to amplify this for your business. Our job at Crestwood is to make you look good with your coworkers and with your boss. And so that said, we're going to get into agents. We're going to give you a big picture understanding of what agents are and how they can benefit you. And then we're going to share the art of the possible with AI agents. And then we're going to break it down into specifically the payables agent that's out of the box and the sales agent that's out of the box. These are two agents that directly impact your core processes. And like I mentioned at the start of this, Jason is really the brains behind the scenes here. So this is where he's going to jump in and he's going to wow you with what AI agents can do for your business. So Jason, take it away.
Thanks, Stephanie. Go ahead and take control here. Let's think about, before we get into the specific examples of payables agent, sales agent, and how they're embedded into BC and what they can do for your processes. First, we need to kind of level set on what are agents. It's a term that's been thrown around a lot recently. And maybe there's some confusion or it's sort of ambiguous or vague. So we're just going to we're going to level set on what are agents, describe that not all agents are created equal. There are different flavors of agents, and depending on your needs and your intentions of what you're trying to automate or retrieve information, what agent is best for you. So out of the box, when you think about agents, you can really think of agents as existing along a spectrum, from simple to advanced, right? And on the simple side, we think of retrieval as a simple agent. Think of ChatGPT or Copilot. You're prompting the agent or the chat bot with information. It's going out, it's retrieving information, and it's bringing it back to you. Maybe you want to know something about your HR policies. It goes out to your library of HR SOPs. It finds the appropriate information and it retrieves that information and returns it back to you. It's not doing anything on your behalf. It's just retrieving information. Compare that to, say, a task-oriented agent, which is it is performing tasks on your behalf. So maybe I can engage that agent to perform a task, open up a new sales order, open up a new IT support ticket. It's taking prompting from you, but then it's completing that task on your behalf. And then the last little bit, as we move up the spectrum on advanced, it's autonomous. Now, these are agents that are still task-oriented, but they have a lot more freedom, a lot more autonomous when it comes to the actions that they complete. So you can actually train agents to complete tasks based on certain triggers. If this, then that. If this happens in my environment, this agent's engaged, and this agent can then go do actions on your behalf without needing very minimal or to no manual intervention. So those are different types of agents. We have retrieval, task, and autonomous. And let's look at some examples of what this might look like. So next we have, as an example, we have this continuum of solutions. So example, if we over here on the simple side, right, and we're thinking about retrieval, we have an IT help desk agent, and this is retrieval. So we ask the question, how do I connect to the corporate network? Now, depending on where this information may be located, you have it in a knowledge base, a wiki, maybe it's in some type of library of SOPs. That agent has access to that data. It can go out, retrieve that information, and then present that data back to you. It's just retrieving information. It's not completing anything on your behalf. Same thing with like a project tracker. A project manager could ask an agent, give me information or statuses on this particular project and how much of the remaining budget do I have left. Compare that to maybe a task-oriented agent where it's completing tasks on your behalf. So for example, I can open up maybe an agent, and I can request a new laptop, and I want it to use a specific IT support portal for that. So it can handle that task on my behalf. And so as you can see, we have our retrieval, we have our task-oriented, compared to, say, the autonomous, where this agent looks like it's been trained to do specific tasks based on a trigger. So you can see that this agent has identified and researched 15 new leads for you to review. It still has manual intervention, but on the backside, right? So that agent has autonomy to go out and do actions on your behalf or on the behalf of a department or an organization, and then only prompts you when it's already completed the tasks. And this last little example here, when it comes about autonomy, is that you can actually have agents control other agents. So it's not a one-for-one. It's not that I converse or interact with one agent, and that agent just does one thing. I can have a manager of agents. So I can talk to one agent who then manages maybe a team of agents. And that manager is then responsible for determining which agent is the best fit for the particular task or request that I'm looking for. So we have a lot of flexibility in that. So just to kind of show the simple to advanced and where they fall, depending on your needs and what you're looking for, determine what agent best works for you.
Jason, really quick to hop in on that. So on that retrieval agent, that can be similar to, let's say I use ChatGPT or Grok or one of the AI solutions that are out in the world. I go in and I type in really quick and I ask a question, it returns an answer to me. In that instance, with the retrieval agent, it's looking at your company knowledge internally through security parameters. You can chat with it and ask it questions, and it's going to give you information back specific to the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Exactly. So you might think, okay, well, that's great. These agents work. It can be retrieval, it can be task-oriented, or it can be completely autonomous. But how do I actually interface with this agent? Because that can seem kind of daunting. That what do I actually do? There's a lot of if this, then that's type pathways. And you can see over here, if I look at this diagram, just imagine this is our web of agents, right? And every one of these little nodes is a particular agent. Well, how do I actually engage with these agents? Well, this is where Microsoft has developed a pretty, I say, slick design for this, which is Copilot. Now, Copilot in the Microsoft ecosystem is your UI for the AI. So rather than trying to engage with these agents directly and trying to figure out the technology behind it, I just get to open up my Copilot chat window, depending if you're on Teams or Business Central, wherever you may be, that you can interface with Copilot. And you just talk to Copilot using natural language. Provide me a sales report of my best customer or the customer with the highest revenue from last month if you're in Business Central. I'm just talking to Copilot. That's my UI. And then it determines which agent it needs to engage to go provide that. Or if I need to open up a IT support ticket, right? You're interfacing with Copilot, which is your UI for all the other agents. So I just want to briefly touch on that of how you're actually interfacing with these different agents. Now let's talk about how we talked about the different types of agents, but there's different types of when you should use an agent or when where they should fall within your organization. For example, not all agents are created equal when we talked about retrieval, task, and autonomous, but not all agents need to be wide open, available for everybody, especially if you're new into the AI game and new into the new agent. You want to start small, and that we kind of break this down into zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 is you think about how maybe I have a particular gap in my processes personally. Maybe I need help with some task management, project management. Maybe I want to be able to retrieve specific emails for clients, whatever. Think about your own personal productivity gaps. You could develop an agent that you can then interface with that solves your personal problems. It only has information, read-only access to your particular documents. It doesn't have information that's related to anybody else's documents. It's sort of your personal agent. So that'd be like a zone 1. That's where you really kind of begin on your AI journey, right? Compare that to zone 2, where now I'm starting to maybe I'm within a division or a department, and I recognize that our department or division has a certain gap, or there's certain things that we're doing over and over again, and I like to automate this. This is where an IT-approved agent maker, so to speak, can build an agent that solves a gap for that department or division. It's maybe only has access to the data that's related to that department division and no others, and it's not organizational wide. It's not handling tasks or autonomous actions on behalf of the organization, because that's where zone 3 comes in. This is where you feel very comfortable. We have personal agents. We've kind of expanded out. Now we're into departments or zones, and then we think about at an organizational level, what are some gaps or needs? What are some things that we do constantly, consistently, that we can start to streamline and start to add some efficiency and start to automate? This is where we call them pro developers. It's still low code, no code. We're starting to build these agents, and maybe an agent of agents. It's a manager of agents, and we're going to deploy that at the enterprise level to handle specific operational needs at the organizational level. So again, just not like all agents are created equal. You kind of have to figure out what zone your company is currently in. Usually you want to ideally start with zone 1 and then scale up and scaffold up as you move through. I think I'm going to hand this back off to Stephanie before we get into some of the demos on the payables and sales agent.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, building an AI strategy for your company, it's not just about boosting productivity, it's about playing both offense and defense. And so when you think about these agents, you should think about how can I reduce cost and complexity and unlock new value and growth for my organization. So really, take this and apply it to yourself and say, what's one process that you have today, and maybe it's already mapped out, that you have, and you can make it smarter, faster, or cheaper, and it could transform what your business is doing today or offering to your clients. And that's really where you start. But the foundation, it's your data. So as agents grow more autonomous, grounding them in your secure data is what allows them to reason, act, and deliver outcomes for you. And when you have fragmented systems, you have a harder time with that. And so the beauty of the Microsoft ecosystem and really having that full, robust data stack is that you can use these agents effectively. And so the opportunity in front of us is really future-proofing your work, and it's giving every core process an intelligent automation behind it. And that can help you scale towards maybe, a connected network of agents, or automate and orchestrate and evolve what you're doing with your business. And so I hope that this was sort of a good high-level understanding of agents and will allow you to empower your people to maybe think a little differently about their impact and some of the work that they're doing. And this can ultimately not replace employees. We don't want it to look that way. What it does is it frees up your employees to do things like use judgment and creativity and strategy where maybe their uses are better served. And then these routine tasks can actually be done by an automation of some sort with an agent. So thanks, Jason. Back to you.
No problem. All right, so let's kind of ground this in some practical examples. And we're specifically going to talk about within the Business Central realm, 2 out-of-the-box embedded agents that Microsoft has already installed and ready to go in the Business Central environment. And those 2 are the Payables agent and the sales agent. And we're going to start first with the Payables agent. We're just going to talk about what the Payables agent does. I will mention that it's still what's considered in preview, meaning it's not really meant for production. Microsoft has a nice extensive roadmap of where they want to go, but what is available right now for sandbox testing just shows the capabilities and sort of the roadmap and the runway that the Payables agent can handle for you, especially when you think about some of the challenges that on the payable side that we have, finding a way to achieve seamless end-to-end processing of vendor invoices. I'm sure you've experienced before, if you've handled the payable side or the finance side, that sometimes there's mishaps, there's bottlenecks. If you're not sure about, if you don't have all the knowledge in the financial department, you're left kind of guessing what do I do here? And so this payable agent is supposed to help with ensure accuracy, reduce manual data entry, and also help keep things aligned. For example, you created a purchase order in Business Central, and then you get a purchase invoice from your vendor, and those two don't link. Well, this Payables agent helps create that link, so you don't have two separate records that are actually combined and linked. So we're going to walk through the Payables agent first, and then we'll get into the sales agent. When it comes down to the Payables agent, it's pretty straightforward. Again, it's already installed into your Microsoft Business Central environment. You've probably seen the icons at the top right-hand corner of your screen. But in order to set it up, you really follow, it's 2 steps to set it up, and then we test it out with the other remaining 2. So we're going to start with configure, then we'll move to activate. We'll do a test of what it looks like when a vendor sends an invoice, and then how the agent over here reviews and confirms it and what that prompts us to do. So let's start without configuring the Payables agent. The first thing you have to do, and these are really the only 2 steps that you have to do outside of Business Central. And once these are set up, they're sort of set up and they're ready to go. But we need to be able to have, in order for the Payables agent to know how to action an incoming vendor invoice, we need to have it monitor a mailbox. And so the very first thing that we need to do is set up a shared mailbox. So we can click over here. If we go into our M365 Admin Center, we click on Teams and Groups, we go to Shared Mailboxes, and then we add a shared mailbox. Now it allows us to set up a shared mailbox, and it's sort of just dedicated to the Payables. This isn't something that other people are actioning, because we really want it to just the Payables agent to monitor. So we give it some information. We call it Payables, Payables add our domain. Once everything looks good, we can click Save Changes. And now that the shared mailbox has been created, now we need to add some members. And these members are really just members who provide oversight. They're not really answering questions within the shared mailbox. Again, that's for the Payables agent, but they have oversight and they can control what's going on. So we can add members to this. Let's say we're just going to add 2 in the example who are just going to provide oversight within the Payables department. Once you've selected all your users that it's applicable, you click Add, kind of review the changes. We got our shared mailbox, we have our members, everything looks good. We can click Close, and now we've set up the shared mailbox. That's sort of that really is the only step that needs to be configured outside of Business Central. So now we have to say, now we need to get into Business Central and activate our Payables agent. And it's pretty straightforward, just like we saw with the shared mailbox. So we'll navigate away from our M365. We'll go up to our little app launcher, right? We'll click on Business Central, and now we're in Business Central. And you can see right here, if you've been in Business Central at any time recently, you've probably seen these 2 little icons, and you may or may not have known what these are. These are your 2 agents. We have our sales order agent and our Payables agent. We're going to focus on the Payables agent right now. So let's click on the icon. First we need to do is activate the Payables agent if it's not already activated. We get this nice little window here for us to start the configuration. So the first thing that we need to do is give it the mailbox. And so we've already set up the shared mailbox, which is that first step. We can click Email Account. We choose our shared mailbox of the Payables, right, that we just created. Hit OK. And now we're basically associated this shared mailbox to this agent. And so when we go to activate this agent officially, this is the mailbox that it's going to monitor for any incoming invoices. But before we hit activate, let's go over here, hit next. And now we want to test it. And so this is where the preview is coming in. There's in the fact that there's still some things that's being worked out as far as capabilities go, but we at least have the ability to have some sample invoices to test everything out. So Microsoft thankfully provides some sample invoices. So you don't have to create your own or dig through invoices. They provide some sample invoices for testing. So if we click this link for sample invoices, we hit next here, we'd have a drop down with a few different options of how we can get invoices in the system. We can download the invoices straight to our local computer and then send those as a test from an email address into the Payables agent to see how it works. Or you can have the Business Central send the emails automatically right into this. So you can do both. We're going to show how both happens. So if I select this download and I click next, I can download here. These are going to download sample invoices, 3 of them, to your local computer that we'll use later in this demo to show how that process works. But right now we're going to hit back and just show how the other one would work. So if you hit that drop down again, this one is allowing Business Central to send an email that just has those same sample invoices, but they're just going to send them on your behalf automatically. So either way you want to do it, the point is just to get some sample invoices for the testing, at least in the sandbox. So once you have that set, you can hit next. The sample invoices have been sent. Once you've finished this, you can hit finish, go back, and now we're ready. So we downloaded some sample invoices. Now we need to activate. So we can click on active. Once we hit active, what this is going to do is now we've turned on the agent to actually monitor this mailbox, right? So before it wasn't monitoring, now it's going to be monitoring. We hit update here, and now we've configured the payables agent. Again, it's pretty straightforward. We activated it. We told it what mailbox it's going to monitor. We downloaded some sample invoices. Eventually, what's going to happen is allow you to use historical invoice data that's outside of what the sample ones. So you can start mapping your specific historical invoice data to fields. So it allows you to have a little bit more granularity. But let's just close this agent for right now, and we'll get into the sample data from the vendor point of view. So we'll close this, and let's look at how the vendor sends the invoice and what happens with the agent now that it's configured and activated. So let's imagine we have our vendor, or you could be you, right, testing this. We're sending it to our payable shared mailbox. We have our sample invoice, or maybe it really is a vendor sending it with some brief information. Once this happens and they send it, right, it's sent. Now it's going back over to the agent. It's going to the shared mailbox that the agent is now monitoring. So let's navigate back into Business Central and see how it reviews and confirms this invoice to make sure that everything's accurate and meets our needs. So you can see here now the payables agent has a notification. Right now, there's a task that's awaiting our review or some type of action on our behalf. We know that something's happening with this payables agent. So if we click on this icon again, we can see that we have our new email from Alan Steiner that we can click on. It says we have a new email. Do you want to review it? I should mention here, you have the ability, it's more on the sales agent side, to either have full review along every checkpoint along the way, or allow to act more autonomously on your behalf. So you can reduce some of these checkpoints, but in this demo, we're just going to show how all reviews happen. So we have a new email from Alan. We want to review this. You can see here's my email. I can also view the PDF that was attached with it. If I click on view PDF, there's my vendor invoice. There's specific data in here with the document date, the due date, if my payment terms are involved with on the vendor invoice. Here's my different line items, right? And notice here that we use 2 different items plus a shipping, and this will be interesting when we get over to the payables agent and see how it confirms this, because it doesn't just recognize items. It can recognize GL accounts as well to knows that this is a shipping charge. It needs to go into a specific, I'm not buying an item. So if everything looks good here, we can hit confirm. And at this point, what it's going to do automatically, since we hit confirmed that the finance department or the payables department agrees that this invoice is good and it's accurate, it automatically creates what's called a purchase invoice draft. And so we can review this purchase invoice draft. You can see it's not an official one, it's still in draft mode, but it has our document number, it has our document date, it has our due date. That's all from the vendor invoice. Here's our line items. You can notice here that 2 of these, the first 2 are actual items that we're purchasing, but this last one was a GL account that's related to the shipping and DHL charge items. So it does have the intelligence to know what are real items versus what might be GL or charge items. And so for here, then it just requires, depending on your process, we could go through each item, click on the little fact box icon, confirm it, make sure that this truly is the item that we're trying to purchase. And if everything looks good, you can hit continue. And now this draft is ready. You can notice that here is the finalized draft, meaning that this is sort of an approved purchase draft, and we're good. So we can hit finalize draft, takes us back here. And what this does now is create the true purchase invoice. So now they went from a draft to a purchase invoice. It carried over all of our existing information. It knew who the vendor was who sent it. It has all the different document dates. It has line items, everything, plus the quantities of what we were looking for each. And then also within this, you have the ability to look at e-documents. So for auditing purposes, maybe we need to know where did this come from. So if I could click e-document, I can view the PDF that came with it originally from the vendor. I can also review the email source that was originally sent. So we have a full audit trail of this payables side from the time the vendor sent it to us and confirmed it all along the way. So in this instance, we can click close. And that sort of handles the payable side, as how the payable agents work from receiving a vendor invoice. It reviews it. It uses Azure and Document Intelligence, which is an OCR flavor of Microsoft. Uses that. It can recognize standard invoices, again, with the ability to map your own fields later, but then creates the corresponding documents on this side.
Jason, really quick, there was a question about services items, and I think it was probably consistent to the slide where you can pull out, I think, the shipping, maybe the shipping line that you were mentioning. He said services items too, if we add shipping that way. Is that accurate? Can you also add in shipping that way?
It's possibly like
I'm sorry,
charge
services.
services. I do believe so. Again, it's still in preview, so it's still working out some of the roadmap as far as the extensibility. But as long as it recognizes that, especially if we have historical data that I've purchased these items in the past, it starts to train the model on knowing, what is this an item? Is this a GL account? Is this a service item? Is this a charge item? It is still getting to figure that out.
Okay. And then one other question is, will it find and match purchase orders?
Eventually, that is on the roadmap. Right now, it doesn't have the ability to link to existing purchase orders, but that is on the roadmap. Where again, they get to my point before, which is sometimes we have purchase orders and then we get the purchase invoice, and these are two separate documents. In the future, they will have the ability to grab the purchase invoice and look to see in the system, is there an existing purchase order that they link together. So now we're just working from one document rather than having two in the system.
You got it. Okay, perfect.
Yep. And so as a recap, you figure we configured the shared mailbox, we activated the agent, the vendor sends an invoice, and then all along the way, the agent is acting on our behalf. It's reviewing the document, it's extracting the different fields, it's creating that purchase invoice draft, allows us to confirm it, make sure that it's not posting anything on our behalf, right? But it's creating that draft, turning it into an invoice. And then we just follow the normal payables process all along the way. So the benefits, again, increased productivity. Now, you see that it was very manual, or very little manual intervention. It was more of me just reviewing, providing oversight, because it's not meant to replace you. It's meant to supplement you and supplement your efforts to increase your efficiency. You get to handle many more documents versus you needing to create all those all along the way. Allows you to make better decisions, identify trends, and spend less time searching and more time dedicated to analysis.
I think it's worth mentioning too, as you talked about that spectrum of retrieval agents versus autonomous, it's smart to notate that through this is an autonomous agent. And so, of course, you can give it more responsibilities, but also know that it's learning along the way. You kind of lightly touched on that. But what's nice is, and I know it with our accounting team, I oversee our accounting team, they will see the same things over and over that they have to adjust every month. And with this, it learns it and it corrects it the next time around. So that's kind of nice to see.
Yeah. And down the road, one thing that's going to be able to do is, let's say I receive an invoice from a vendor, excuse me, who's not already a registered vendor in my Business Central system. It can actually create the vendor on your behalf and then block them. So the account becomes blocked. You can't actually buy anything from them, but they can create the vendor card on your behalf so it allows you to have a lot more autonomous and like frees yourself up on that. So
yeah. Jason, with the roadmap, do you have an idea of timeline? I know Microsoft comes out with 2 releases a year that they really focus on. So right now they just came out with Wave 2. Wave 1 of next year will happen in, I think, March timeframe. So we'll see maybe some more enhancements then.
Right.
But is it typically on the roadmap of those 2 releases where we start to see some changes?
I think we'll probably see, they don't have a specific date out there yet, but I would say that between now and March, with the next big wave release, we're going to see a lot of functionality. Sales agent was the primary focus, and now payables agent's next. And so sales agent is ready for production. It's out there ready to use. Payables agent's next. And so I would say that I would say within the 2026 year, payables agent is going to have these roadmap features implemented.
Okay, so on that note, just for everybody listening, what we'll do is as these enhancements come out on these, we will include these updates in our Crestwood newsletter. So if you're in our email base, we will have you included, which if you're in the email base, you receive the email for this session. So you'll be included on that newsletter. We'll make sure to keep you updated there. And then as new enhancements come out, we'll do more webinars as well.
All right, so now we covered the payables agent. We're going to talk about the sales order agent, and it follows pretty much the same guidelines. So we'll work through that and make sure that we stay on track. So we're going to talk about the sales agent. And just like we had bottlenecks and inefficiencies on the payable side, depending on, do I have a purchase order but no purchase invoice, and then I get a purchase invoice and then they're not linked. Sales have their own complications. Things like being able to streamline the process of capturing sales orders, or a customer sends in a quote request or an inquiry on items. That takes up manual effort, right? It's someone to monitor an inbox and just answer questions of, do I have this in stock, or create a quote. The sales order agent is really meant to help that, and it uses AI to analyze customer requests received by email. It can identify the customer. Again, if the customer is registered in Business Central, it moves on. If the customer is not registered, it can actually create that customer or contact on your behalf and then block it so you're not actually selling anything. But the biggest thing is that the sales order agent can do, it can have multi-turn email conversations. And we'll talk about that when we get into it, because you got to think, I request something, the agent responds, and then after I get that quote request back, maybe I realize, oh, I actually needed this additional item, or my delivery date needs a change. You can have multi-turn conversations back and forth with the agent, and every time you change something, the agent's going to update the quote and then send it back with your new update. So it's not just a one and done. You have multi-turn conversations with the agent. So let's go through this. Sort of the same process. We're going to configure a shared mailbox. We're going to activate. The customer sends an inquiry in, the sales order handles that inquiry, and then it can send back a response back to the client. And if it's approved, the agent can actually convert the quote into an order. So now it's a real sales order in your system. So let's walk through this real quick and set up the agent. So back in the M365 Admin Center, we still need to go teams and groups. We need to go down to shared mailboxes. And then we also need to create a shared mailbox for the sales. So if we click shared mailbox, this one we're going to name teams or sales. For our sales team, here's our email address. Everything looks good. We're going to hit save changes. Same thing as like in the payables agent. Now we need to add members who are going to be overseeing this or have oversight of this mailbox. So we can add members, add our members up here. And let's say we're just going to have a few in here. So we have Craig and we have Alan right here. Add as many you need to. That's going to have oversight. Once you have added all the appropriate members, we hit add. Make sure always verify for accuracy. Make sure the right people are added and not the wrong ones. Once we're done with this, now that's it. Again, that's it for the steps that are outside of Business Central, is the shared mailbox. And you probably could have done it at the same time you did payables, just so you can kind of maximize efficiency there. So now we're going to go back over to Business Central and look about how do we activate the sales order agent. So now we're back in Business Central. You can see I have my payables agent, my sales order agent. This time we're going to click on the sales order agent. We need to activate the sales order agent. And before we input the mailbox that it's going to monitor, there's a few extra configuration points that we get to do on the sales order agent that we didn't have available to us on the payables agent. So if we click next, we get to configure how it responds to inquiries, and we also get to configure how it handles sales documents. So on the respond to inquiries, again, this is where if it's a registered person in our Business Central, so the agent recognizes that this customer already exists or this contact already exists, you get to determine how much review do you want of a registered customer. You could say that no matter who it is, when a new inquiry comes in, you as the manual person gets to review all incoming emails. Or maybe it's just a couple of the other options are it's all, or maybe just the first email in a thread, or none. If it's a registered customer, I'm just gonna let the agent handle all registered customers versus maybe unregistered. I'm gonna have much more review and oversight of that. So it kind of depends on your process and how comfortable you feel with the autonomous nature of the agent. You also have it has the ability to check items. So if a client requests or customer requests an item of yours and they request a certain amount, this agent has the ability to go into your inventory, check exactly what's quantity on hand, and if it matches, or if the quantity in hand matches or has more quantity in hand than what the client requests, it will then offer that up on the quote. If it doesn't have enough, it will, in the response back to the client, it will say there wasn't enough inventory for this particular item. It won't tell them how much inventory there was, but it will tell them that it wasn't enough inventory. And on the create sales documents items, you get to determine how much, if you want to review from the quote before it gets sent, and you can also have it set up to where the agent can automatically convert a quote into an order. So these are just some of the configurations, again, based on your processes and your comfort level of what you allow it to do. So set up your configurations. We go back. Now we need to add our email account. So we click on account. And so sort of before, we're just going to add our mailbox in here, add in a shared mailbox, M365 one. It's going to be our sales team. We click next, verify this for accuracy. We're going to click finish. There's our sales team. We hit OK. And now this email shared mailbox has been added associated with this agent. Because we already activated, it's already active. So this agent is already active and monitoring this mailbox. So we can hit update. So now that the agent's been configured, now let's go over from the customer point of view and determine or look at how it works. And we'll move through this, make sure that we cover everything. So the customer is going to send an inquiry to sales, right? So just imagine we have a customer, they're sending it to the shared mailbox, then they put a request out here for some items. They even put in here that they have a requested delivery date of a certain amount, of a certain time, right? So we can get very specific with this agent. They need these items with this amount delivered by this time. And then they go ahead and send. It hits that shared mailbox, which then prompts and activates that agent to begin its work, right? So now if we're back in Business Central, there's our sales order agent. We have notification that there's a new task. We click on our agent. There's our new email. We can click on email. We're going to review this email because again, this is set up to review everything. You could have this to where the agent has already completed several tasks before it had to review things. But let's just, in this case, we're just reviewing everything. So there's the request, has our dates. It recognizes this was existing customer. So it already knows that this is a contact of ours. We can confirm this if everything looks good. What does this do? Well, let's look at right here. We can see that right now we have 2 sales quotes and 9 sales orders. So now the agent, once we confirm that this email, the agent automatically created a sales quote for us that we can now review. So there's the sales quote, right? It's got the requested delivery date automatically inputted. Here's the different items with the requested quantities for each. It automatically pulled in our contact. If this looks good, and here's some of the logic behind it that it was using to fill out this information. It already went and looked at inventory to make sure that we could cover everything. If this looks good, then we can hit confirm. And now you can see now we have 3 sales quotes, whereas we had 2 before. So now the sales quote has actually been generated in the system, but now we got to send this quote back to the customer for them to approve or deny or whatever it may be. So we can hit review. Here's the outgoing email. So this, again, the agent's doing all this. The agent drafted up an email, put everything in a nice table, said, oh, thank you for your request. Here's your products with the delivery date of October 1st. Has everything here. Here's the email. We can actually then review the attached quote, that the PDF that's going to be, here's the automatic generated PDF that's going to be sent with the email to the client. Again, with all of our information there that we need. If everything looks good, we can back out of here. We can hit confirm. And now the agent is going to send this email to the client or the customer. So let's look at it from the receiving side. Now the customer is going to receive this back. Let's take a look at that. Customer replies to the sales agent. So there's our new email back into the customer with the quote. It says, thank you for your request. Here's you got a requested delivery date of October 1st. Here's your items. If everything looks good, just hit reply and say approved, or it's something that lets them know that this is approved. Again, this is where you can have that multi-turn conversation. So at this point, the client or the customer could say, well, actually I need it delivered by this date, or I actually need less items or the more items, whatever it is. And this is where that multi-turn conversation comes in, because the agent would just continue to update the quote back in Business Central and then keep on responding back with your quote's been updated, please approve. In this example, everything looks good. The client's like, I'm ready to go. Let's turn this into an order. So they send it. Now that goes back into the shared mailbox. And now the sales agent converts it into an order. So again, we have 3 sales quotes. We have 9 sales orders. We also have a task for our sales order agent. You see, we have a new email that we're going to review from Alicia. There's the email. It says, thank you. It's been approved. What this does, it then activates. It says, okay, this quote has been approved. I'm now going to, depending on how you configure your agent, I'm now going to automatically convert this into an order. So you hit confirm. It automatically generates the order for us that we can review. Outgoing email. Thank you. Here's your attachment. That's going to be your confirmation of your order, right? It says now it's a sales order. There's the originating sales quote, so we can keep that audit chain of this started as a quote. It's now an order. I get to keep all that audit details all the way through. If everything looks good, I can back out of here, hit confirm, and now this email is going to go back out to the client with their confirmation that this is an approved quote. Here's your order number. I can hit confirm, and you can see here my sales quotes went from 3 to 2, but my sales orders went from 9 to 10 because it's now been converted automatically through. And you can see there was some manual intervention, but a lot of it was just me kind of reviewing and providing oversight along the way. So hopefully this was helpful to get an idea of what some agents look like, either with some task-oriented stuff or some autonomy in it, and how it's embedded into Business Central to provide some efficiency. I think with that, I hand it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. All right. So, as we kind of wrap up things here, I have some next steps. I think we've answered all the Q&A at that point, but today we introduced you to Crestwood and our capabilities as a Microsoft partner who's really focused on your big wins. If you're a client of ours, thanks for coming. If you're not a client, welcome again. I hope you enjoyed today's session. We started at a really high level. We talked about process and automation and how to think about that. And then we dove into kind of what I'm calling the art of the possible with agents and introduced you to these two out-of-the-box solutions that Microsoft has already created for you. They're relatively easy to set up. I really like the mailbox setup because as you onboard and offboard employees, it's easy for your IT person, whoever is managing your inboxes or your mailboxes, to be able to manage that. And so it's my hope that you really feel equipped to strategically think about your processes for your business, how technology can apply to them, and how AI agents really make a creator of an impact on your business. You can see where Microsoft is going here. There's more of these coming, by the way. So next up, and just for attending the webinar today, Jason's going to be doing free just 1-hour discovery sessions with anybody who's interested in talking about their processes. Maybe it's not specific to agents. You're looking for Power Platform solutions or some sort of Power Automation solution. That's Jason's sweet spot. And so please feel free to fill out the session link here for that and schedule some time with Jason. And then in addition to that, I mentioned the part 2 of our webinar series where we'll be focusing on the second request from clients, which was around Power BI and Business Central. And then third here, Jason did a really great job putting together the Sales Order Agent blog series that shows you step-by-step instruction guides on how to set up your mailbox and how to use these agents. And then there's some other just thought leadership and additional articles on there that you could benefit from. And so you'll see the Sales Order Agent blog series there, as well as the Payables Agent blog series. And so, please reach out. We'll be happy to introduce you if you have any support needs or if you just have questions. You've got my email. I emailed you specifically for today's session. That's really me. I'm not a bot. I did all of those. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. And thank you so much for being here today. Please consider completing our post-webinar survey that we'll send post-webinar and give us some feedback on how we can get better and what else you'd like to see in the future. And that said, thanks, Jason. This was a great presentation. I have some thoughts for blogs now that we need to get out there. So appreciate all the time that you put into getting this together for us.
No problem. My pleasure.
You got it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you on the next round. Thanks, Al.